So stacking talents and skill acquisition is the single greatest investment that you can make. That's not a new concept, right? But if you illustrate it, it's not like a 1 + 1 + 1 scenario where it equals 3. And so let's say we take Jay-Z, right? So Jay-Z's not this, but he's a billionaire or whatever. He's super up there. But why is that, right? In the beginning, he was a musician. Okay, so that was his first. I mean, even before that, you could say he had an ear for music.
Right.
First,
right.
Second was he learned how to play beats. Third, he learned how to rap. Fourth, he learned how to promote himself. Skill. Once he learned how to promote himself and make music as a musician, he then learned the skill of creating a label, right? And then he learned how to promote other people. And so those talents, when stacked together, became disproportionate in terms of how much revenue can be created. In a different example, for like an everyday type, employee, let's say you're good at math, right? Okay, you're good at math. Great, it's a skill. Then you're like, all right, I'm going to apply this and become a bookkeeper. Okay, I'm good with math. That makes sense. I'm a bookkeeper. Then you get a master's in accounting. Okay, now this is a little bit more relevant. Then I start learning about tax. Ooh, okay, now I can provide value to a business. Then I start learning about insurance vehicles that I can use with tax to start having massive savings and decreasing liability and risk. Then you add legal on top of that, or you add banking on top of that. And then all of a sudden you can literally see this resume for this person. And you literally go from 30,000 a year to 60,000 a year to 90,000 a year to 250 a year to he's a partner at the thing, he's making millions, right? And so when you layer these talents on top of one another, and the reason starting up entrepreneurs don't make money for such a long time, they're acquiring the skills, but they acquire one skill, and that's still not all of the requisite skills to get to just from 0 to 1, right? First, you learn how to make an ad, okay, but you don't know how to make a landing page. Okay, great. But then you learn how to make a landing page, but then you realize that you have a shitty offer. And then you learn how to write headlines, you learn how to write copy, and you write like creative, and then you learn how to convert test, and then you get a lead. And then you're like, what the fuck do I do with a lead, right? And so it's all, and then you learn how to convert and learn how to monetize. And so there's all these skills. And so people buy a course on email marketing and think it's going to make them money when it may very well deliver on the promise of teaching how to email market, but you still need 6 other skills to make your first dollar.
Right.
Sorry, this is my rant on.
No, that's a huge rant. So here's my question. How do you balance continuing to up your game and talent stack with not taking on every role and properly delegating and assigning, right? Like to be the CEO, you need to have the talents, but not be the one, flexing the muscle, right? So it's a balance.
So you are always coaching. It's just who you coach changes. So in the beginning, when you're a coach, you coach your clients. And then you coach your employees who coach your clients. And then you coach the people who coach your employees who coach the clients. And so that, and the people who you are coaching, their skill set that you bring in levels up. And so your ability to gain their respect has to be higher so that they respect what you were saying when you were coaching them. And where you get breakdowns is where the people who are necessary to run an organization at a certain size, their skill set surpasses the owner and they no longer respect him. And that is why the organization will flatline. And so the owner has to consistently up their game to learn new skills, learn new perspective, get different angles so that they can still provide value in exchange to the other people. Eventually, and so my views on talent have so fundamentally shifted over this last 3 or 4 years. When I had my gym, an expensive employee to me was $50,000 a year. I was like, this guy's got to do everything. Like, I mean, this guy's got to do everything, right? And then we started Gym Launch, and like my most expensive employee, year 1 was like 70. You know what I mean? Like that. And that was like, hey, you better be ready to work. I mean, this is a real, and then the level of skill that attracted from $70,000 jobs to $100,000 jobs, very different levels of skill. And then when you go from 100 to 250,000 a year, night and day difference. And so a lot of times we as entrepreneurs expect someone to come in at X, when in reality, that person, like you want somebody who's going to direct your marketing and he's going to work for 60,000 a year, right? Who's going to direct the entire thing. Somebody who can make it rain is making it rain, and he's making it rain for himself or herself. And so it's like, you have to give that person an incentive, or you have to give a good amount of money for that level of person to come. And so that's where you're almost buying someone's small business, right? You're acquiring all of their, say, I'm going to buy all your contracts and I'm going to pay you that much just to work full time for me. And that's where you start getting kind of like the in-between, more freelancer than entrepreneur, but like they're independent enough. You know what I mean? So there's this middle ground between employee, freelancer, entrepreneur. It's like that freelance-ish type person. And then there's some people in corporate where, like, if you want really high-level corporate talent, smart-ass people, right? But they want equity. You know what I mean? They want stock options. And like, if you want real players. And so that's what I've learned now. Some of the people that we brought in, who have small stakes, minority stakes in the company, the level of skill set, the level of experience, the insight that they have, and true expertise, because my CFO knows way more about finance than I ever will.
Right.
Like way more than I ever will.
Right.
And so, but that's not my role anymore. My role is to be able to identify skills in other people. And that's where like the level of discernment becomes important, because you really have to just
it stops becoming acquiring the talent yourself and more like managing those talents. And
if you think about it organizationally, an organization is stacking people who stack talents. And so now we're because the sum of the parts, right? Because if I have somebody who knows how to write copy, headlines, emails, blah, 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 all that stuff, and he's the marketing person, that person on their own, without somebody who knows rockstar fulfillment, can't make nearly the amount of money. And that's how the entire organization creates disproportionate amounts of revenue than any of the individual parts. And that's where profits create.
Awesome. Okay. So that's high level stuff that everyone should listen to. But if you're early in your journey, it might come off overwhelming. And I think the main thing to realize is like step one, you've got to get your attention back.
Yeah.
You got to develop the talents that are missing, either through going and getting those talents or hiring them. But so you've done some big changes, and we're going to start wrapping up here, but like, how did you go through when you had employees that worked with you at the beginning, like it's time to move up, right? There's a human element there. How'd you manage that kind of growth, but still being a good guy?
Yeah. I mean, we've cycled through our leadership twice.
Yeah.
I mean, because I will share numbers just to give context for the people who are listening. The first year we did $500,000. The second year we did 5.5. The third year we did 28. This year we'll wrap up at 45. And so the level of skill set of somebody who is running a quote finance department at $5 million is somebody who's like a bookkeeper / accountant. The level of person who's running the books at a $45 million business that could be valued at multiple hundreds of millions of dollars on a valuation standpoint has to be rock solid, right?
Massively different.
Right.
And it's hard, and it's really hard for those people to be like, oh, I'm going to step down and let a new leader. They're not going to do it. There's pride in leadership and
totally
just moving forward.
And so we had to cycle. I mean, and everything breaks. So it's the rules of tens and threes, right? It's a Chinese rule. But I don't know if for the listeners, everything breaks at tens and threes. And so in terms of your team, once you get to 10 people, all the systems that you had up to that point break. And then you create new systems, new cadences, and new, like, where everyone reports and responsibilities, right? And then it grows and grows and grows. And then you're around 30, everything breaks again, right? And then you grow from 30 to 100, and everything breaks again. And so it's the rules of tens and threes, because the organizational structure itself is it's an organism. And so it has to also adapt with the growth of the company. And so it's like the skeleton for what's happening on the outside.